welcome back to the Retro Bros. James is away this week, so I'm taking over this episode because I've been invited down to the Rezzed Event in London, which is a big gaming event showcasing some of the latest in indie titles as well as some of the latest in VR technology. So I'm going to go down there, shoot some highlights of the day and see what the whole event is about. Just popped outside now from the Rezzed event. There's so much going on in there that I had to try and find somewhere quiet so that I could just get my head together, because you've got people from all over the world here at this huge event. You've got people from the BAFTA there, the BFI are there, and one of the cool things as well is you've got a lot of retro fans there, which is one of the reasons I'm there. One of the first games I saw there was Rezzed on the PS4, and it's a new game which is just about to come out, and it's a remake of the original Rezzed, which was on the Dreamcast. So many Sega fans there and so many Dreamcast fans there, and it's really good to see, especially being a huge fan of the Dreamcast myself. And one of the games actually I saw was a game called Last Fight.
Round one, fight!
And the guy who made it, Cal, and all the other guys, the team who made it, were massive fans of Power Stone, which was a really, really cool beat 'em up by Capcom on the Dreamcast. They're clearly paying homage in Last Fight to that game, because they're huge fans of that genre, and there hasn't really been that many 3D style games since then with the same sort of pizzazz. So it was really cool to see that. If you haven't had a chance, check it out. It's called Last Fight. So I'm going to try and pop back in there now. There's a few hours left. I'm going to see if I can get a go on the PlayStation VR. Okay, just got back from the Rezzed event in London. There were so many people, a massive amount of new titles, new games. It was a really cool place to be, and one of the things that absolutely amazed me was just how many people were there for VR. VR is a funny one really, because with all its futuristic qualities, VR has been around for ages and it comes from a very retro background. I mean, I remember seeing a poster for the Nintendo Virtual Boy, you know, back in the 90s, and I remember thinking like, oh man, that looks like the future of gaming.
Virtual Boy, see it now in 3D.
Now we're getting to a point where, you know, technology is finally catching up to what we want and what we expect from virtual reality, and it was really, really cool to see and to have a play at some of the new games and some of the new demos. I think one of the biggest problems with VR in the past is mainly that it's never really been accessible to the masses, and now with things like Google Cardboard and with sort of cheaper virtual reality headsets like this, people can sort of, anyone can use VR now. Everyone's got a phone, so you put your phone in there and then you just plug it in, and then there you go, you've got your own makeshift VR headset. The difference between this and a proper sort of VR headset like the Oculus is like, this is like the equivalent of say 3D, when 3D was in the, you know, the stages of having to have blue and red glasses. Prior to the event, I actually called my brother, who happened to have access to an Oculus Rift, and I got him to come over, and we spent a massive amount of time playing some of the demos on there, some of the games, and watching some of the videos. You know, there was like horror videos, there was like a Studio Ghibli simulation game, and there was a roller coaster game. There was a whole bunch of different things to play on there. It was a really good experience, but there was a part of me which was a bit bogged down by all of the sort of wires and all of the things that had to come with it, not including the price. You know, I don't know so much about the HTC Vive, but the PS4 VR is, I think, roughly about 350 quid, and the Oculus is way more than that. So for me personally, as I'm not really a PC gamer anyway, the Oculus doesn't fit for me, and I think that's where the Oculus and the PS4 divide. You know, you've got the Oculus for PC gamers, and you've got the PlayStation VR for, you know, console gamers. Specs aside, you know, because we know that the Oculus is slightly more advanced, the PlayStation 4, I think, is just, for me, it's just setting the way. One of the things I did find though when I was playing these demos and these games were, if you get travel sick, you will feel sick pretty quickly. That's something you're going to have to get over, but that is certainly something which, if you get travel sick, if you get motion sick, you're definitely going to have a hard time playing with these things. That's just an unfortunate side effect from virtual reality, unfortunately. So to sum up, I think, you know, this wasn't supposed to be a comprehensive review. It wasn't really supposed to be looking really closely at these pieces of technology. It was more just coming from a retro background. What do we think of virtual reality? And like any piece of entertainment, virtual reality is just a means of escaping your reality. So, you know, whether it's a retro game or a modern game or a film or whatever, if it successfully makes you escape and takes you away from all your troubles and your worries, then it works and it's fun. Right now it's too expensive, but in the future, predominantly the PlayStation VR will take the helm, I think. That's just my estimation. But anyway, we'll be back to normal, good old-fashioned retro games next week. Tell us what you think about this. Like, what were your thoughts on virtual reality? Do you have a headset? Are you going to buy a headset? Let us know in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe and all that stuff. Like I said, we'll be back to retro videos next week. Until then, take it easy and thanks for listening.